I took my fitness pretty serious when I was on a 600 all the time. As soon as I got on the super bike, it was like, holy shit, this thing's trying to kill me every single corner. Like, I can't hold on to it. And that's when I really had to focus on just working out all the time and fitness, because it was just killing you. We've built some top level Moto America bikes, and not in super bike, just 600 stuff in super sport. And it's nothing to throw $55,000 to $60,000 at a 600 these days.
Wow.
Like, by the time you put data on it, build an engine, put a nice set of calipers on it, you know, all the wiring, like, if you put time, labor in it, you get some extras, dude. You know, let's just take a Daytona 200 bike, for example. To have a good competitive Daytona 200 bike, if you buy a brand new bike off the showroom, you're going to spend easily $50,000 on it to make it competitive.
Today is August 21st, 2020. Today we have flying Ryan Kerr from Black Lick, Ohio, I believe it is, coming on the EricSwanRacing.com podcast. I think this will be podcast number 16 of the ESR series so far, and I'm excited to have him today. He's just logging on. It might take him a second. We're using Zoom conference, so it's a little bit new for everybody, but he should be coming on just a second here. If you check out our eBay store, we have many new products coming. I'm working on a few new vendors. Driven Racing, Jim O'Neill, OGO Power Sports are all coming on very soon. M4 Performance Exhaust. We have Spark Italian Exhaust for sale right now. We have Akrapovic or Akrapovic Slovenian Exhaust will be added soon. And we're working on a lot of stuff right now. I expect by the end of the year, January 1st, to have around 10,000 products listed for sale. Right now we're about 2,500 or so. So massive amount of growth, going to almost triple or quadruple our inventory in the next couple months here. So I'm pretty excited for it. So stay tuned. There we go.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey guys, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah, so you got your friend in the background there?
Yeah, that's my that's actually our protege. He works at my shop, Skylar, and that right there, my best friend Lance.
Hey Lance, hey Skylar.
How you doing?
Doing great. Looks like you're on a pontoon boat chilling.
Yeah, we're on a pontoon boat, but we're trying to fix it because, as you can see, we're not in the water.
Yeah. Hey, well, at least you're relaxing in a good style, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I think we met maybe back, 2013, 2012, maybe.
Yeah, it's been
probably at Gretton Raceway. I think you were racing the expert class, and I was just starting out. I was like, wow, you guys are so fast. I wonder if I could get to your speed one day. And
yeah.
It's good to see your progress and to see where you've been. And you even helped me out in a pinch. I think that year I broke a transmission. I blew a transmission in my bike. And you were the only guy within miles and miles that would have one available. So I met up with you and helped me out with that.
Yeah, we had a lot of Kawasaki support and a lot of Kawasaki parts laying around because I broke a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and you were on the 600 for a while, but then you switched over to 1,000.
Yep.
And what is that transition like for you from going from the 600 to the big bikes?
For me, it was a lot easier just to get on the 1,000 because I was so bound up on the 600.
Okay.
And actually overriding the 600 all the time. Like I would ride the 600 so aggressively that I would go into the corners. I would lose all my momentum and quarter speed, and then the bike doesn't make enough power to pull you out of the corners. So getting on the 1,000, it was a learning curve, but at the same time, all in all, I think it helped me a lot because it smoothed my riding out, and I was a lot more competitive.
Yeah, just maybe fit your style a little bit better.
Oh, absolutely.
And do you think you say overriding the 600, is that, pushing the braking markers way too deep into the braking zones, or what do you mean?
Riding a 600, I mean, they don't make that much power. So as soon as you lose that drive or you lose all your roll speed, they just don't come off the corner whatsoever.
Right. And man, I raced a 600 in the. I mean, it was where it wasn't professional, but I raced 600 in the 600 class, 750, and 1000 classes. And I will tell you what a tough battle that is, trying to race a 1000 on a track like Road Atlanta, or I never went to Road America with it, but I don't think you can ever compete there unless the competition's not really any strong for you.
Yeah, the thing with 1000s though, a lot of people get on a 1000 and automatically, you know, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to be way faster. I'm losing all this time on the straightaways and stuff like that." And 99% of the time, as soon as they get on 1000, they actually go slower because they're fighting the motorcycle and the power so much.
Yeah. So you definitely recommend starting out on a slower bike, a lower CC engine.
I'll tell you what, I've been doing a little bit of riding and coaching. I rode one of my friends' Ninja 300 when I was in Jennings right before the 200 this year.
Yeah.
And I had a blast on that motorcycle. I mean, it's slow, but it kind of brings back like how road racing's like ballet. It's all about literally just roll speed and flowing on the racetrack. And I was literally passing guys on the outside on that Ninja 300 and the S's at Jennings, and they come off. They're just pissed because they're like, "How are you doing that?" I'm like, "It's all about momentum and roll speed."
Yeah, if you make one tiny mistake, it affects the next 4 corners on those kind of bikes.
Well, that's what we learned too when I was racing the Harleys all the time, because they don't make enough power to get out of their own way. So as soon as you lose that driver momentum, you screw everything up.
Those were the XR 1200s?
Yep.
Do you wish they would bring a class like that back to Moto America, or what's your thought on that?
I think any kind of spec class for the series would be great.
Yeah.
So before I had good support and everything, when we were, you know, racing truly privateers, trying to compete with the factory budget and at the factory level, our bikes were never adequate to what we were racing, you know, on the other competitors. So I was having to override and ride so much harder than everyone else just to keep up and, you know, place well. So as soon as we got on the Harleys and did that, like, every singles motorcycle was exactly the same. And I think for the sport and, you know, the competition, it shows who's actually the better rider. It's not who has the bigger checkbook.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think there should be a class like a Formula One or a MotoGP that is the pinnacle, that spends all the money, that develops the technology. But at our level, there's no way you and I can compete with, you know, the factory Yamaha team or the factory Suzuki team, whatever you want to call it now, what it is. But
Well, Moto America, you know, the superbike class right now compared to even how it was when I was racing superbike every weekend, the top 5 guys are, even just the top 2 guys, if you look at Yamaha, really it's just Yamaha, honestly, because, you know, all rich and road racing world, they still don't have the amount of technology that factory Yamaha and Attack is putting into that program. I mean,
yeah.
Cameron is an incredible rider, but at the same time, those motorcycles that they're riding are absolutely incredible too. So for someone that doesn't have quite the same skill level as him, you're going to the racetrack. You already know that you're racing for 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Right. Yeah, it's a little frustrating, and it would be interesting to see an entire series that was based on spec classes. You had a 1000cc spec class, everything's the same. 600cc spec class, and then a 400cc or, you know, a lightweight class.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even if
it's ever been done.
No, they never have. And that's the thing with the Harleys. I mean, when we went to Daytona, the first year we went to Daytona on the Harleys, I only rode it the weekend before, and then the next weekend in qualifying, I qualified on pole. I was fastest, and then we had an oil line blow, and I crashed in final qualifying. But from 1st place to 9th place, we were all within 3/10 of each other. I mean, you can't get over everyone.
That's so close. I love to see that. It's almost like a go-kart race, you know, there's just hundredths between them.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, not to take anything away from the sport of the series, but you watch the races now, and it's like everyone's so just separated. And then, you know, they show the front pack. They don't even show any of the good racing that's, you know, throughout the rest of the race, out the rest of the pack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little frustrating. You know, when you turn on the MotoGP, it's the Marc Marquez show. You turn on World Superbike, it's the Jonathan Ray show. Turn on Moto America, it's the Cameron Bobier show.
Absolutely.
So it's just everybody excels at their own level. You know, I was a little surprised Garrett Gerloff got the ride. Not that he's not a phenomenal rider, but, you know, I'm thinking, shouldn't Cam Bobier be the next guy to go overseas, you think? or does he want to be the king of America?
I think Cameron didn't go over there is just because the age thing. That's why Joe Roberts went over there, and that's why Gerloff went over there. Is just
Okay.
because they want those guys to be younger so they can bring them up through Moto 2 and ultimately try to get them to Moto GP, where Cameron's older, and it's not that he's too old, but at the same time they're not going to put him directly in the Moto GP class. So they want you in Moto 2 for a few years, and they want you out, by the time you're in your 30s.
And Cam is 26, 27-ish? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think he's 27, or I'm pretty sure he's 28 because I think he's only a year younger than me.
Okay. And then I think Garrett's I don't even know how old Garrett is.
22 or 23. He's a lot younger still.
Yeah. So just a few years there.
Yep. Oh, sorry, dude. Yeah, I had to get back into my truck. I actually got to drive back to my shop right now. I got to meet this customer.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I understand. We don't have to take it too long, but I just wanted to touch base with you, see if we could talk for a few minutes.
Oh yeah, no, you're good, man. I'm just driving, so I'm good. I'm sure it's not a good idea, but I multitask all the time, so I'll be fine.
Yeah, just don't stare at the phone.
Right?
So
So
you said you're going to meet a customer. What do you mind elaborating? What do you do at your shop? And tell me a little bit about that.
yeah, so I once I quit doing the whole racing thing full time, I obviously still have love for motorsports and stuff like that. So I was like, I had my dyno from racing and everything, and I was like, it's time to do something. I did some landscaping and I was working for other people, and I'm just like, man, I can't do this working for someone else. I'm gonna roll the dice, and I'm good at working on stuff and everything like that. So let's see what we can make happen. And I started doing my own thing, and I just did 28 Motorsports being my racing number. And then I was building a lot of really competitive stuff and cool stuff. And some guy was like, man, let's just do hashtag 28 built. I'm like, hell yeah. So that's what we focus everything on, like all the builds. But I do everything there. I mean, we have over 125 bikes in stock right now just for service, and I have
Wow.
the dyno, and I do a lot of engine builds and stuff like that. But it's a blessing. I mean, I think a lot of the business people followed me through my racing career and stuff that we did in the past, but how everything's going right now, it couldn't be better. Like, and how much I'm learning, like how much more I learn about chassis and motorcycles and bikes, where if I knew all that stuff when I was racing all the time, it probably would have made a huge difference.
Did you get any formal training for wrenching on bikes, or was it all working with your dad, just learning at the racetrack?
A lot of it was just working at the racetrack. A lot of it was self-taught. My dad taught me a lot of stuff. I also learned like a ton of stuff from Gary Medley. He was always my crew chief when we were racing, and everything that guy taught me was, he's a wealth of knowledge, and he actually does some of my engine builds for me still, and we kind of feed work off of each other. But yeah, it's a lot of it's just it sounds bad, but it's trial and error. I mean, uh, once it comes into really, pissing the valve clearance and squeezing engines tight to make power, like sometimes it works and other times it blows up.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, and the more you learn from trial and error, the better you get. So it's not a bad thing. People just hope it doesn't happen to their
oh,
bike.
absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's parts fail, and that's something else that's very difficult because try to explain that to a customer. It's like, hey, I did my job to my best ability, but this oil pump failed, or hey, this timing chain broke, and it's catastrophic.
Right. Yeah,
So
it's not always your fault. You put the right part in there, but the system failed somehow.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, our this year at Daytona, we put a fresh motor in before the 200, and literally second or third flying lap out there, the rod, I mean, it broke the rod, like
Wow.
it obliterated that engine. But I mean, we had another engine, so that was all good. But then the COVID thing hit and everything like that, so that kind of put a bind in everyone's schedule, that's for sure.
So I've met some people at the racetrack who are just wizards with a wrench. How fast do you think you and your team could do an engine swap?
So once bodywork's off and coolant's drained, we can do a motor swap in 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
That's
Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing.
that's in out, and that's throwing the bike on its side, like burping the coolant system, and ready to go back on the racetrack. Yeah, it's pretty quick. Um, a lot of that is all how do the parts and everything we do stuff. So like the headers come off literally in one piece. We run a little bit different exhaust system. Same thing with we actually have a Zeus fastener pin on the bottom support for the radiator, so that literally comes right off. You can slide it
Yeah.
off the frame, and once that's out of the way, I mean we don't run on the superbike. It obviously takes longer, but on a 600. I don't run any data, any of that crap. So it's a matter of just unhooking our ECU, moving the throttle bodies off of it, and dropping the motor out through the bottom. It's not a big deal.
Wow, I think most standard people who don't work on bikes for a living would say it probably
Oh,
takes
it's a
right.
yeah, it's a full day job. Yeah, most of the time, like even at the shop now, that kid that was with me earlier, he's still at my other building out there. Um, he just started working at the shop and doing stuff, and he took an R6 motor out today by himself, and it took him about it's 5 now. He started on it this morning at like 10:15, so it took him the entire day to get it out. But at the end of the day, too, that's a standard street bike, so there's a little bit more body work and components and stuff like that. But yeah, for the average person, it's pretty much a full day job.
Yeah, it seems like a massive undertaking, but if you know what you're doing, you've done it 55 times, it's not such a big deal anymore. It's just all nuts and bolts when you get down to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to know which ones to take out and which ones aren't important. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I just perused your Instagram real quick, and I saw you were doing a whole bunch of different disciplines. You're into flat track, you're doing ice racing, you're doing pontoon boat maybe racing at some point.
No, we're not racing pontoon boats. We're just trying to have a good time.
Right. So talk about some ice racing. What kind of benefit do you get from ice racing? Is it just pure pleasure, or you find?
I think the ice racing is kind of plays the part in riding a 1000, because you got to get comfortable with it spinning the rear tire off of it all the time, and right, racing on the ice is very similar to flat track racing. You're pretty much sideways all the time. um, I guess I've just been such a blessed, like, all around motorcycle racer that I've adapted very well. Like last year at Daytona, I raced the Pro 450 singles TT, and
Yeah,
like it was just a matter one day. I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna give this flat track thing a try. I wanna get my license, and I raced motocross professionally, so I was a very, very good motocross racer, and I'm like, I know I can haul ass with a TT just because I can use a front brake better than those guys, and I'm really good at turning right. So
yeah,
we went to one of the local Salem, short tracks, and the local fast amateur kids were there, and they're just like, "You never done a TT before?" I was like, "No, I'm gonna learn today."
yeah.
And literally 3 laps into the first practice, I was wearing those guys out. And it's just being comfortable with sliding the motorcycle and using a front brake and stuff like that. And it was just awesome, because even in the heat race, I won, and then the main event, I think there was like 18 of us, and I lapped halfway through the field, and it was the first time and I was riding a buddy's bike, like it wasn't my bike set up for me or anything. Like he his name's Dennis Jeffries, and he always helps me at my shop and stuff like that. But he's like, "Hey man," he helps out kids that want to race 450 Pro singles. He's like, "Here, just ride this bike. It's pretty well set up." And I got on it and I adapted to it. But that's just how I've always had to learn. Like, prior to having good help and everything in racing, like, we didn't have the best equipment, so it was just put your head down and ride. Like, do you want to run up front with those guys and just try to overcome? And sometimes you ended up on your head, but other times you were up front battling. So it's just something that we had to adapt.
Yeah, and I think
And
people
like,
who have that mentality could probably ride vintage bikes very well, because if you just get on it and ride, like there's not a whole lot of settings on a vintage bike anyways, right?
well, that's the funny thing too. There's the Bull Taco Astro Cup for dirt track, and they have like the national at Ashland, which is about an hour and a half away. And this guy Dave was like, "Hey, I got this Bull Taco Astro. You want to race it short track?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'll ride it." And the hardest part was the right hand shifting, and then
Okay, yeah,
that was the hardest thing to adapt. But once I got that thing in fifth gear on the half mile, I just kept it wide open the
yeah,
entire time, and
right.
yeah, we did really good there. We got a third and a second, and I think we got one first and a couple fourths for the overall weekend. But I never rode the bike. But yeah, it was literally just adapting.
Yeah, that's real good. And you alluded to you were at Daytona this year, and there was some COVID
Yeah.
things going on. So that was a really unique situation. I know that ASRA or CCS didn't have really control over what was going on, but you guys already qualified, and then they sent everybody home.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was very interesting. The whole situation was. I It was very frustrating. A lot of it was just because we had so much stuff, preparation and everything for it. And then you got all these tires and everything mounted and all this different stuff, prepped and already done for for Daytona. And then it's just like, hey, this is, the president of Daytona International Raceway is making this decision. And it's just, they're sending everybody home. So.
Yeah, and it's going to be rescheduled for October, I think.
Sorry about that, man. I was in the middle of turning my alarm off and everything else, but yeah, I got so much shit in my shop, but like here's an H2 that we're doing a full build on.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything. Yeah, one of my guys, we're supposed to leave a bike out, and I'm not sure where they even stuffed this thing, but this isn't even like the small side of the shop. Like it's 10,000 square feet, and then this is some of the bikes.
There it says Sea of Motorcycles.
Yeah, it's a lot for sure. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, the whole Daytona thing, I don't know. I mean, you can't change it, but at the same time, it just sucked because we all went there to race, and there was talk about, they were still going to have it and this and that, and it kind of just wasted a whole nother day for everybody. And then they said they were going to do the reschedule and stuff like that, and it's just like, this is unreal, And not to mention all the thousands of everyone spent to go there and make it happen for this.
Yeah. I mean, imagine coming from California in a semi-truck with a plane ticket for all your crew, and then you had to do it again for the same amount of purse.
Well, the other thing that was insane about that situation is, obviously Daytona, the 200, such a big race. There's guys literally from Puerto Rico and stuff like that they shipped in all their MR12 and everything like that. They were dumping it in their rental cars.
Oh, man.
Because they just didn't – they were just like, well, I guess we got to use it or we're going to throw it out. And, like, literally they were putting it in their rental cars and everything else. It was unreal.
At first, I thought you meant like they put it in the back seat, but they're putting it in the gas tank of the rental cars.
Yeah, they were literally putting it in the gas tank of the rental cars.
Well, at least they probably had fun with that rental for a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. It smelled good, I'm sure.
It was like bananas, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it smelled interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. And you did WERA quite a bit extensively from probably 2012 to 2017, was it maybe?
We did quite a bit of WERA just to get seat time and practice for the 1000 for the Superbike. Once we got, my biggest thing was getting my Superbike license. Once I got my Superbike license, we really just focused on the nationals and testing. Racing's good and everything, but until you get seat time and just riding and learning and data, it takes forever. So.
Right. And what is the licensing like switching from a pro motorcycle road racing sport to a pro flat track? Do you have to prove that you're fast enough in practice qualifying or have enough points? How does that work?
That's kind of a sore subject because I definitely didn't meet all the requirements to get my pro flat track license. But since I did the whole road racing thing professionally and I was such a good known, top level motocross racer, they kind of just, Larry Pegram obviously doesn't live far from me, and we've raced on the ice and stuff like that together. And me and Larry actually, we go at it when we're on the ice, and he's just like, dude, you got to try dirt track sometime. And I'm like, yeah, I want to try it. Absolutely. And then, so we called Al Lettington and a couple other people and the directors of racing. He's just like, look, man, like Ryan can ride really good. He's definitely not, a hazard or anything like that out there. Like, just get him a license. So.
That's pretty cool. I mean, if you got a guy like Larry Pegram who's raced on the world stage, that's a good guy in your corner. on your
Oh,
resume.
yeah, and Larry's another one of those racers that's just a absolute awesome all around racer.
Yeah, I actually met him at MotoGP 2013 or 14 in the Parts Unlimited hospitality area.
Really?
Yeah, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, Larry's definitely a really nice guy for sure.
And he had that pretty cool TV show for a while.
Yeah, the Superbike family.
Yeah, that was great. It really gives you the behind the scenes of everything that people don't see all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's kind of why I'm doing this. I just want to talk to interesting people, and even when you're not racing, you're just moving bikes around and working on pontoon boats, and it's just cool to see the behind the scenes aspect of it when you're not in your race suit.
Yeah, it's definitely the behind the scenes. I'm always in the middle of doing stuff. So give me this cool guy right here. He's in the middle of picking up his bike. We just fixed it. I'll give you a call right back, Eric.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we're good, man. All taken care of.
Sweet. Hey, making money while you're being interviewed.
Yeah, that's always the goal.
Right.
The bills never stop. That's for damn sure.
Dude, it's expensive just to exist and live.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I don't know. It's the older you get, the more bills you have, and like I have a lot of nice things. I mean, I'm definitely very blessed with the business side of things and how busy we are. But at the same time, I've actually sold a lot of my toys that I've had just because I work so much now, and I don't even enjoy the stuff. It's just like I enjoy going home and not doing a lot. So
Just relaxing in your free time. I mean, when you're go and you run your own business, I kind of know what that's like for me. If you didn't know, I'll give you a little background. I stopped racing in about 2015. Although with you see these number plates over on the sides. I've been doing other racing, foot racing and mountain bike racing, way cheaper. Not fun, but it's still fun. You're getting out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Competitive. So I've morphed from sponsorship because that didn't work out so well for me, and I've changed more into online sales. So I sell products online. Right now I have about 500 products for sale on eBay and my own website and Amazon and Craigslist sometimes for different things.
Hell yeah.
So I'm really going the drop ship model where I'm reaching out to companies and listing their products and shipping them out from different warehouses all around the country. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I got a full-time worker in India who's helping me make product listings. I have 2 part-time family members who are working for me remotely. And I was just gone for a vacation and I had someone shipping orders for me. So it's getting better. It's not
awesome.
I have a 10,000 square building yet, square foot building, but it's getting better. And I actually just reached out to a new vendor today to try to establish a new relationship with OGO. OGO
Oh, wow.
backpacks and the golf brand Callaway. So we'll see where that goes. But I'm really trying and reaching out to a lot of different people and just trying to make money as many different ways as I can. You know, I work a full-time job still, unfortunately. I work my business in my spare time. I usually have 2 renters. I have one right now. I do this podcast once a week, and I try to do like 50 to 100 miles of cycling every week. So I got a full plate.
That's awesome. The cycling thing's fun. I mean, I do it a little bit, not as much as I used to all the time, obviously, when I was racing, because it's so good for training. But my friend Lance, that I'm heading back out to the property right now. He's a 2-time PFL champion.
Okay.
And so he's a badass. He's a little brick shit house, but we hang out all the time and do some fighting together and stuff like that. So that's fun. But I don't know. I love motorcycles, but my whole racing, that side of it is, the Daytona thing's obviously awesome, but just the whole racing every weekend and chasing it and spending the money it's kind of just a bottomless hole. You spend all the money and you're just not getting the return like there used to be. I mean, I even got into the road racing world, way past the prime of it, back when me and Pegram have had the conversation a million times, and like even back to like the bounty hunter days, like Brian Stokes and Jensen, those guys would go race Weira on a weekend, and they'd make 15 or 20 grand in a day.
Yeah.
It was unreal, and I'm just like, how the hell is that possible? I would be running up front all the time in super sport, and I think the checks were $2,500, and it's like without sponsors from other sources and stuff like that, Superbike purse was a lot better. I mean, even for qualifying and making the grid, I think it was 5,500 or 6,000. So that was definitely better. But
yeah,
and the Harleys paid really well too. But other than, I lost you there, sorry. The Harleys paid really well too, and that was a nice thing. Is it was such competitive racing, and it was cheap racing too. I would run the same front tire all weekend.
Wow.
On the Harley.
Yeah.
Like we went through 3 rear tires, 1 new one for practice, and then obviously 1 for qualifying and 1 for the race. But that was it. I ran the same front tire all weekend. We just put the hard front tire on there, and they just, that's cheap. Where Superbike, we were going through 9 full sets of tires and then 12 rears roughly.
In one weekend, yeah.
and in one weekend, yeah, literally. And that's what people don't get. They're like, oh yeah, it sounds like, sponsors and stuff, it's all great, but I'm like, yeah, we're throwing away $4,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
We're throwing.
I've never done a pro event, so I can't really speak to it. You've done a lot more than me, but I would estimate that it's probably anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 for a pro event at the top level.
Yeah, it's a Superbike. I mean, if you look at the factory teams, it's much more than $10,000.
For those guys with the semi trucks, for sure.
Yeah, so when we had Yoshimura support and stuff like that, and I had my dad, my stepdad on the team, we had a full-time mechanic, Michael. We had our suspension guy. Then we had Gary working with us. I mean, just paying those guys for the weekend and everything was roughly $5,500 to $6,000. And then you got, tires, you got travel expenses. God forbid if you crashed a bike. I mean, it all added up very, very quickly. If you had a perfect weekend, you'd spend 15 grand, no problem.
Wow.
And it's crazy, without help, you could spend, just to do all the rounds, you're at $150,000.
Yeah.
When we had some Geico support and Suzuki support and Kawasaki, everyone was kind of throwing in when we were racing all the time. It was nothing for us to spend. Let's say you're just doing the Superbike races, but then you're practicing. I'm going to Mid-Ohio a couple times a month and riding, or we're going to Barber, we're going here to do a test. I mean, to spend $250,000 was nothing. I mean, it's unreal what it costs to keep those bikes going. And then you do, my dad used to always call it whack one. Like the bike comes back and the front end's not even connected to the frame, and like that's part of it. And it's just like you look at it, you're just like, oh, what do we do with that thing? Light a match to it, or try to keep the wiring harness? Like the frame's broke and everything else, and it's just like the fan side of it, and people that are just watching from the outside, they have no idea what cost goes into it. I mean, you look at Cameron's bike, for example, we've built some top level Moto America bikes, and not in Superbike, just 600 stuff in Super Sport. And it's nothing to throw $55,000 to $60,000 at a 600 these days.
Wow.
Like by the time you put data on it, build an engine, put a nice set of calipers on it, all the wiring, like if you put time, labor in it, you get some extras, dude. Let's just take a Daytona 200 bike, for example. To have a good competitive Daytona 200 bike, if you buy a brand new bike off the showroom, you're going to spend easily $50,000 on it to make it competitive. I said, you're going to have extra wheels. I'm going through a dead spot right now, so you might lose me, man.
Okay.
You're going to have extra wheels. You got to get the quick change stuff going. You got to have gas tank done. You got to have at least 2 extra gas tanks because God forbid you crash, your quick fill gets messed up. You got to have it. It's absolutely unreal. All the spares you have to have, exhaust system. If you don't have an extra motor going there, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone looks at the Daytona 200 person. It's like, oh yeah, it's 25 grand to win. You don't have sponsors or money to get you there. You're in the hole before you even go.
Yeah, and for a guy like me, when I was starting out, my mentality was I have to get good immediately because I don't have the money to fund everything for a long time. So I got to be a pro as soon as possible, and it's totally a catch-22 where, well, you don't have the money to get to pro, so you can't get the sponsors. So how do you get to pro without the sponsors to be able to show what you can do? It's like this tough situation.
Yeah, and that's something that is kind of frustrating, ultimately because I think there are some very talented racers out there that don't get enough credit. Like Jake Lewis is one
Yeah, Jake Lewis kind of got the short end
of
of
my
the.
really good friends, and he a lot of money. Exactly, and even my family, like they do anything for me, but without having the financial backing, it's hard to compete with those people. And he literally was camping out like everyone else at Weir races and doing whatever, eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and doing whatever they could to put the extra amount of money into their racing program so they could race and get points just to get to that top level. And then you get to that top level, it's like you're there, you made it, and it's like, wow, is all this really worth it? It's like, I don't think the pay is what everyone thinks that it really is.
I would just be ecstatic to be able to race at a decent competitive level and get $0 and just break even. That's what I mean,
Yeah.
Just do it and not get paid.
100%.
I'd be so ecstatic. And that's why, I'm never going to make enough money working at least the job I have now to be able to fund it. So I have to do something different with the business or trying to have renters or investments, finances, different things. So I'm just trying everything possible. I don't know when or if I'll get back to it, but that's kind of the goal, and that's the shining star that's guiding me with all my decisions right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's that's the thing with racing is, the older I get, originally there was nothing else. Like it was just racing, and no matter what, like to think of myself not racing, it just didn't seem realistic. And now, I'm into so much other things, like hell, even me and Lance going golfing and being at home with Haley and Earl and just doing other things. Like there's a lot more into life than that. So it's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I saw you had posted a couple of things about Casper. Tell us about Casper. Do you still have that?
Give me 1 second, man. I gotta swap over here onto the shop Wi-Fi.
All right.
All right, dude, we're back. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was connecting.
I don't mind. This is kind of cool. This is the most explorative podcast I've ever done.
Dude, this is my everyday life, me with these guys.
Just driving around.
Yeah. It's our land yacht out here.
I like that. It's like a Redneck Yacht Club, right?
Hell yeah. No, you
Go ahead.
You ask about Casper. I don't have Casper anymore, but that freak back there, he's got a black track hawk that we named Mamba, and it's gonna be a lot nastier build. I'll show you in our shop out here.
Okay.
We still we got a 2020 wide body Hellcat. We got a red eye. I actually was doing some of the car stuff, the instructing up at Mid Ohio. I had a Z06. I still have it. I crashed the hell out of that thing last year at Mid Ohio. But yeah, I built this building. You got the 28 on the floor right there.
There you go. Pour the cement.
Yeah, this is our 2020 wide body. We went to Streetcar Takeover last weekend. We were racing this thing. But yeah, it's fun. We got like this upstairs loft. We're doing we called it Uncaged Performance. It's another business that me and Lance we started. We're trying to do the whole giveaway thing. So, sell the sell the merchandise, to do the inventory. This is a 2019 Hellcat drivetrain that we blew apart. But yeah, he's building his Jeep pretty much a max bolt-on effort like we did. Mine made around 1150 to 1200 horsepower on spray, and the stock, I mean, that was stock bottom end. I mean, it took it. Like, it's unreal what those things can take. And he actually just put a full built engine in his, and it's gonna take a lot more power. This is we got this Can-Am back here. We literally took this thing golfing last weekend. We just drove it down Broad Street and everything else. we lifted it. It's a Turbo X. We did a whole bunch of stuff to it, but
Awesome.
it's pretty slick.
Oh, there you go. Side by side, 4x4.
Oh yeah, 4-door.
Can-Am. Oh, that's sweet, man. That's a full size. You got a back seat and everything.
Oh yeah, this thing is huge. It's like a truck.
Wow. Is that plated?
Oh yeah, it's plated.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So you're into boats and marine with off-road, on-road. So what type of racing or riding would you like to try that you haven't done yet?
So I would say the only type of racing that I really haven't done that I definitely want to try. I mean, I've done some stupid hill climbs, but like I wanna ride one of those nitro Harley hill climb bikes. That's something that I've always do. Just because you got to hold.
Like a nitrous, or is it a turbo bike?
I've ridden a top fuel bike. Not actual like funny car style with the actual like the blower and everything on them, but I've ridden a pro stock Harley before. When we were doing the Vance and Hines thing, I got the opportunity to ride one of those with Eddie Krawick and Andrew Hines. So that was a cool experience. The funny thing about that too is I don't talk shit, but never to take anything away from those guys. But like going straight down a drag strip, once you figure out how a tree works, like their motorcycle ability is nothing like road racing or anything else.
It's just it's like the first 30 seconds of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once I got the hang of literally just leaving with the clutch, I mean, I was in one day of riding, I was competitive with those guys, and I've never done it before. And they let off, when the thing starts to lean and get squirrely, like I just kept it pinned because it feels normal.
Sure, you're just used to that.
Yeah, exactly. That's like me and this. We get reckless in vehicles, and most people that are driving with us are holding on for the oh shit handle and everything else, and we're just sitting there talking like everything's normal.
Yeah, for sure. Now, do you
get installed? Not yet. Watch out.
Do you have a favorite tire brand for each discipline that you race, or is it always just whatever the spec tire is, I'll race that?
No, whatever the spec tire is, we'll race that. I never did like what a lot of the other guys did with the Pirellis. And, when we went to WERA races and CCS, we always ran the spec Dunlops because you would get on a Pirelli, and like I've ridden the Pirellis, they're a way better tire and you can go a lot faster on them. But you screw yourself when you go to the national races because all the guys that were, setting all these times on Pirellis, they'd go there and they'd get waxed. And it's just because they couldn't ride on those tires.
Right. Yeah. I was always a Michelin supported rider. So I never did the pro circuit. So I never switched to the Dunlops, but I was always hearing horror shows of, they switched from Michelin to Dunlop and lost 3 seconds a lap. Well, you just got to ride the tire, but it's a different carcass. It has a different feel to it. It's stiffer maybe than some of the other brands.
Yeah, that's a lot of it is just adapting. Like I said earlier with different bikes, a lot of people, I've always like, if I'm having an off weekend, like I will blame myself rather than blame everything else. And there's a lot of guys that, they want to blame the tire, just make up all these excuses, and something you're off,
Right. Yeah, I never had a crew chief to say, hey, you fixed the bike. It doesn't feel right. It was always, well, I just have to work on my riding because I know the bike is pretty much fine. It's just I need to learn to ride it better.
Yeah, 100%.
And most people don't have that mentality. I think they're just like, oh, the suspension's wrong. I can't ride today. Well, that's that's not good long term. And then what would you say would be the hardest part for you becoming a professional?
Just getting support. Honestly, the riding is easy. The more money and financial help that you got, that made everything easy. You know, having Gary, being able to afford have him come on the team and everything like that, like, because his knowledge was everything. And it got to the point where all I had to do was show up and ride the motorcycle.
Yeah.
And when that's all I do, everything kind of just came naturally, versus I'm running around in the pits. I'm checking on tires getting done. If I crash the bike, I'm helping trying to put the damn thing back together.
Yeah.
But you miss that stuff too, because it gets to the point where racing, you know, the fun and love for riding was always there when you were throwing your dirt bike in the back of the truck and going with your friends. I used to go, I was 16 years old. I'd have my dirt bike in my van, and I would skip school, and I would literally go hit local fair races and stuff like that and go win the money races. And I'd always I'd hit 3 fair races during the week, and I'd make $2,000. And like, it was a blast. I would show up for late practice, ride 2 laps, go out there and win, and go to the fair and hang out with my friends. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then once you do that different level, the love for the sport, it just completely changes, because it's not just for fun. It's
Right.
for a living.
And at some point, like, if you want to do it for a long time and you're not just loaded rich, you have to
Yep.
be a professional to be able to afford it, because other people are going to help you, right? So it's like this,
You
like,
think we'll get a sponsorship from this Zoom meeting?
hey, we could, if I don't have it in my hand, but cheers. Cheers to White Claw, right?
Yeah, Bill, it's a White Claw.
Man, I think there's so much potential in motorcycle racing for added growth. I really do, because look at, I mean, Daytona is now televised in a way, but that's not even really, that's probably the biggest amateur race that's televised, but no other amateur races are televised. There's no amateur coverage, so nobody can follow the people from amateur into the pro ranks. And
Absolutely.
I think that it would help if there was more amateur coverage somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it would. I think it's just those promoters, it just comes down to cost and everything like that. But you watch, even if you go to a local motocross or something like that, you know, the younger kids and super many, and even, you know, the 50 classes, they throw everything at it, you know, and
Yeah.
that's where we all came from, is just loving to race motorcycles.
Yeah, I just wish it would be promoted a little bit better than NASCAR, because I have a sore spot for that, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. There's so many awesome sports that are out there that people, you know, have no idea about, you know. Like this guy over here, he gets paid money to get beat up for a living. Like, you don't have respect until you actually see, you know, what goes into it. And that's what's kind of frustrating, because, you know, you show up for the weekend, you do good, everyone's just like, man, I wish I was living their life. Or, you know, they don't see everything that goes into it, you know, behind the scenes of all the hard work and training and dieting and eating right. And it's just, there's so much more than goes into it than just showing up and, oh yeah, he's just naturally gifted, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's not exactly how it went, but we'll go with that, right?
yep, absolutely. Yeah,
And
I'm a very, like, easygoing person, but like, people when they say that shit must be nice, like,
yeah, it must be
that's what. Oh yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, it must be nice. You have no idea.
right. Or oh, you're just sitting on a motorcycle. That's not physical, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Get that a lot. So you mentioned diet, and what do you typically would do for your diet aside from White Claw?
Right now,
Yeah.
I don't hardly eat at all during the day. I drink a lot of water, but we drink a lot of White Claw too. No, I still try to eat good, just because I don't race nearly as much as I should, but I also don't want to be out of shape. Like, because you know how much fitness affects your riding. If you can attack the track every single lap, you know, and not be tired, you're going to perform a lot better, versus riding great for 2 laps and you're so pumped up you can't even hold on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
a
see,
lot of it
is they do
breathing.
great laps, a few laps, and they just fade away. You're like, oh, here's my chance, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing that was the hardest thing for me, is I took my fitness pretty serious when I was on a 600 all the time. as soon as I got on the super bike, it was like, holy shit, this thing's trying to kill me every single corner. Like I can't hold on to it. And that's when I really had to focus on just working out all the time and fitness, because it was just killing you.
Was it a big upper body jump in strength, or from the to the 1000, or more legs and core?
A lot of it's just the core and legs. There's not a ton of upper body. I mean, you don't want your arms ever to be huge because they just pump up so bad.
Yeah,
But it's all endurance and strength and just keeping that heart rate up all the time.
yeah. Yeah, I do tons of cardio. I don't do a lot of weight training. I probably should do a little bit more, but I just do miles and miles and miles. I've been doing longer bicycle rides. I've been taking the road bicycle out more often now than the mountain bike, just trying to get 40 milers. I did a 50 miler a couple of days ago. Just trying to get that endurance up. A couple of 2-3 hour rides. It's a lot.
Hell yeah, that's how we train Lance. We hook him up to this pontoon boat and make him run us around.
They can pull the pontoon.
That's right.
There you go. And you got any plans for the future with your shop? What's coming in the next few months for you?
Try to get caught up. I mean, it's unreal how behind we are just with work, because COVID really screwed up so much stuff in the industry just with getting parts and everything like that. Or yes, like I get a ton of parts through them, and they're so down on employees right now. I could place an order. Usually it'd take 1 day to get the order, and it could be anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks now to get the order. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's a big difference for sure.
But other than that, do that, and then we're gonna do the reschedule for Daytona. We'll do that makeup race, and like I was telling you earlier, I think this winter definitely focus on the uncaged performance. I think there's a huge market for the whole giveaway thing, and it just goes back to it's work. It's all hard work, but if it doesn't feel like you're working and you're having fun, I mean, you can't change it. You know, there's not one day. The stress sucks. I put a lot of pressure on myself and stress and trying to fix stuff, but at the end of the day, the people that work with me, I don't ever want them to feel like they hate coming to work. And there's so many people in today's world that like they get up every day, they're like, oh, I gotta go to my damn job. Like they hate it. And I never want to be in that position. Like I'll do whatever I can and not feel like that. And I want the people that are part of my life too to not feel like that. So
yeah, it's important, liking what you do and not hating your life. It's a big part.
Yeah, but everything's about attitude too. I mean, if you know that something's gonna suck, if you go into it with that attitude, like it's gonna be miserable.
Yeah. There was a guy just today at my work, one of my coworkers, I won't say his name, but he said, I said, oh, good morning. He's like, well, what's so good about it? It's like, I was just being polite, man. I wasn't like, I don't really care how your day is. I'm just trying to be nice, Oh,
yeah, there's some better for Debbie Downers.
Yeah, it's like, well, not with that attitude.
This guy, Skylar, he's Mr. Positive.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good thing. I listen to guys like Zig Ziglar. He's passed away now, but he was a motivational guy. And he says a quote that I love: you can get anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want. So for you, you're doing that with the motorcycles. You're like, well, I'm an engine builder. I can help you with this knowledge.
Yep. Let
me help you. And for me, I'm trying to help connect people with products and online, and I can ship right to your door. So if you're looking for motorsports, engine built, dyno work, go to Ryan Kerr.
Yep, absolutely.
For sure. And where can people find you online? I'm sure you're all over social media and you got your own websites now.
Yeah, if you just go to 28motorsports.com, you can find everything there. You can even Google my name and all that stuff will come up. So
very good. Well, let's wrap this up. We don't want to make it a 2-3 hour podcast today. I still got stuff to do, and I have another 2 podcasts to edit before I post yours. So this will probably be another week or 2. I'll post it, but I'll make sure to tag you and make sure you repost it as well, so it gets the most possible views.
Yeah, I saw you had Christy Lee on there. She used to interview me all the time.
Yeah, she was the biggest person I think in my network I was able to snag for an interview. So she reposted it, and almost overnight it spiked up almost like 1,000 views or so.
Oh yeah, because everyone wants to check her out.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's beautiful.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate it. We'll see you.
All right, man. Take care now. Have a good one.
Yeah.